Welcome to Excel Magic Trick 1006. Hey, if you want to download this workbook 1003 to 1006, click on the link below the video. Hey, in this video here, we have 5 employees, and we need to assign a $450 allocation for insurance costs, but only if the employee has 3 consecutive months with a value above 0. So here, employee number 1, 1, 2, 3, so we could put a 450 here. This one, 1, 2, 3. Notice we're in April, and so we're looking at the 3 previous. But the employee 3 to 5, none, only 1, not a total of 3, and 0. So all of these would be 0. Even when we get to May here, that would mean employee 4 is only built up 2. So it wouldn't be until this June column where employee number 4 has 3 previous months with values greater than 0 that we would get for employee number 4 a 450. All right. Now, we could build a formula with this intermediate column and then total them. Let's do it that way first and see if we can make any improvements. Well, we're always looking 3 previous. So I'm going to do the count if, and I don't need that minus. The range is going to be a relative cell reference. Notice as I copy down and over, that range will move relatively. And what am I going to say for the criteria? In double quotes, greater than 0, end double quote. Right, so that'll give me a count of 3, and we're always interested in 3. So if I copy this over, it's only where there's 3s that we need that 450. Now I'm going to, with this whole range highlighted and that active cell, hit F2, put it in edit mode. Now we're interested in only when the result is 3. So I'm going to say, are you equal to 3? Notice we've taken a number, but we put the COUNTIF is spitting out an answer, a number. We put a comparative operator. That means we're doing a logical formula. Are you equal to 3? It'll report true or false. Now I'm going to populate this edited formula into the whole range by holding Control and tapping Enter. Now, where we see a true, we need the 450. Where it's false, we need 0. F2 to put that cell in edit mode. I could do Boolean logic, but I think I'm just going to do an if. Logical test, it just needs a true or false, comma, value if true is our 450. I click on that cell B2 and lock it using the F4 key. Those dollar signs make it absolute. Otherwise, the value is false, and I'm just typing in a 0. Close parentheses, Control Enter to populate all the cells with the edited formula. So there it is. That's an intermediate column. So now our ultimate goal is to get the total for the month, given that we have 5 employees. So Alt equals, and that is the formula total. So the question is, how do we get a single cell to calculate that 900, that 1350 here, that 1800 here? The trick here is we have information that is coming from a 2-way array. Notice there's 5 rows and 3 columns. 1, 2, 3, right? And we, in essence, need to get from this 2-way array a single array filled with 450s and 0s. This one has 5 rows and 1 column. So, and then we need to add them, right? So the only way I can think of to do that is to switch over and do matrix algebra using the MMULT function. So I'm going to come down here. We're going to take a little look at this. If we are going to multiply, remember, here's our source data. And we'll just do the formula for the first column, and then we'll copy it over. Here's our, in essence, our information, right? A row filled with 3 numbers greater than 0. And we need to get to this. Let's just first start off. I'm going to highlight this here. And in this top cell here, I'm just going to highlight 5 rows, 3 columns, and I'm going to ask the question, are you greater than 0? Now let's highlight this, and I have a little note here. I'm going to highlight this and hit the F9 key. Notice it's returning an array in array syntax. Comma means column, semicolon means row. Why? Because that comma means I got a true there, a true there, a true there. So true, comma, true, comma, true. As soon as you get the semicolon in array syntax, it means go down to the next row. right? So I need to, in essence, gather up this information and get 1, 2, 3 in a row or across the columns into a single cell with the number 3, right? So Control Z. That's a two-way array, 5 by 3. Now I'm first going to need to convert these to ones and zeros. So I'm going to put parentheses around that comparative operator and the double negative on the outside. F9, there's our ones and zeros. Now I somehow, again, need to gather these up. There's 3 ones across the columns, but I need to have them in a single cell. So we're going to use matrix algebra. Now here's the thing. We know what the size of our resulting array is. It needs to be 5 by 1. So if you're doing matrix algebra, you usually have array 1 and an array 2. But here we have array 1 and array 3. So we have to know the rules for multiplying matrices. Array 1, array 2. Well, if this is the dimension of array 1, 5 rows, 3 columns, one of the rules is that the columns of the first have to equal the rows of the second. So we know that the second array, if we're multiplying, it has to have 3 rows. So 1, 2, 3. Not only that, but we have our resulting array here. It's 5 by 1, 5 rows by 1 column. Well, the second array column has to, whatever that is, that'll be the number of columns in the resultant array. And we take 5 from array number 1. So we know that this is 5, 1, so we put a 1 there. So that's how we determine the size of array 2. We kind of have to back into it. And what am I doing here? F9, just to remind us. Well, if I could multiply this array times these, it would take 1, 1, 1 times 1, 1, 1 and add them. Then it would take 1, 1, 1 times 1, 1, 1 and add them. So this is a way, if we could do matrix multiplying, to gather up all those ones and zeros into, inside our formula, a column of 3s and other numbers. So watch this. We're going to use the MMULT. Array 1, comma, and array 2. Now watch this. We had to back our way into this, but I don't need to take it from the cells. I'm going to put it in array syntax. Curly brackets, and then 1 semicolon to go down a row, semicolon, whoops, 1 semicolon 1, in curly bracket. And there we go. That little trick there of taking the ones from here, multiplying it by that second array, when it does the matrix algebra, F9, there's, whoa, in array syntax, 3 semicolon 3 semicolon 0, 1, 0. Now remember, we need, in a single cell, 450, 450, 0, 0, 0. So Control Z. I'm going to take that in parentheses. I'm going to say, are you equal to 3? And then highlight it. F9. There's our trues and falses. Notice true, true, false, false, false. So now I can simply take that. Because the 3, I can't just take the arrays of 3s and 1s and 0s and multiply it by the 450. I had to create those trues and falses. And now I can multiply them times this 450. Now, I'm going to need to lock that ultimately in the formula. But if I highlight this F9, do you see in a single cell, I've created that, in essence, helper column that we created up above here. And so now what do? We can simply add those up. This would be in a single cell, so I can use something like sum product. I'm going to type a second parenthesis and then come to the end and then just enter. And there's that 900. Now, actually, we could force the issue and see that the MMULT really is, if we were going to do it, the helper column, which we would never do. I'm going to have to click Escape, come down here, F2. This is silly. I shouldn't have done this. I should have just gone. But we could how you normally enter a MMULT is you don't use it in a single cell. You enter it as an array, and there's the 450s and the zeros. But now we're going to come up to this cell right here, and we'll do our whole formula. Well, let's do it right here. I'm going to copy this little bit right here. I think I probably already had it. Sum product, Control V, and there it is. Now notice those relative cell reference will work because as we copied across, it's looking at, whoa, it's looking at the wrong range, so I need to change this. The rest of it is fine. But notice as we copy it this way, those dancing ants will move incrementally by 1 month. And I used some products, so I didn't have to use Control-Shift-Enter for this array. MMULT is an array function that returns an array. Ready? Control-Enter and copy it over. You got to be kidding me. So right at any given point, it's gathering its information up from this two-way array, simulating this helper column with a MMULT, and then adding it with some product. All right. Actually, this similar trick is in, I talk a lot about the MMULT in Chapter 18 in my upcoming array formula book, Control-Shift-Enter, which will be out in July. So this is a different example than I have in the book, but I talk exactly about how to take information from a two-way array, simulate a column, and then put it all into a single cell. All right, we'll see you next video.